Hi y'all. So ever since I've started doing or restarting this channel with the videos, I've been hinting on the end about a big project I have in mind. It's finally time to tell you all about it. So stick around and we can have a chat because I'm going to need your help, internet. Lots of people have these bucket lists. So I thought the best way of introducing this idea project I've got is by showing you my bucket list. Some of the things on here may be a little ambitious and maybe I'll be in a box and these will never happen. Some of them have been. Obviously I'm really proud of some of these, and I raced for quite a few years. I won a couple of club championships and a national championship. See on my little intro, that was a great day. Also I've managed to do that as well. Not the those two. Kit Car, if you follow this channel at all, you know all about the Exo booster. These are the next on the list that I am kind of hoping to address. These two are kind of going to end up possibly being one. So that's what this is. This is kickoff for a project. I want to build a car completely from scratch with the aim to go that fast. Yeah, that's pretty ambitious, isn't it? So my qualifications for doing this are absolutely zero, other than blinding ambition, being autistic and having ADHD, which means I can very easily rush into projects headlong without really thinking too much about them and thinking them all the way through, because I think generally with these things, if you think them all the way through, you'd never actually start them in the first place. So sometimes being the neurodiverse things is actually pretty good. So why am I making this video now? I've been mulling this thing over in my mind for, I don't know, probably about a year. I expect Brian over the Oak Swamp channel can tell you, because many a time when I've dropped in round there and we've been having a coffee, I've been bending his ear about it and he's been bending my ear about, get on with it, make a video series about it, because people will help. So the whole idea with this now is I'm asking you lot if you can help, because I don't have all the means I need. Now I really like the Exo style of cars. Those ones are a car called an Asbo, which there's only I think 4 of. Really like those. I think it's based on a thing called a Warner R4, though I'm having real trouble finding info. I quite like this one actually, which is an MV Rocket 2, I think they're called. I can't remember what that one is. Oh, that's right, that's the V-Storm. Well, obviously it's an Exo car. The thing that intrigues me about this is it has this central driving position and 2 passenger seats. For track driving, that's great. I would love to hear from anyone that's got one of those for what it's like on the road. Because anything I build, I want to be able to use both. I really enjoy doing these Sporting Bears charity passenger ride things, and I want to be able to do that in anything I build. So 2 seats would be brilliant for that. But it does mean, obviously, I'll be doing a bit of road driving, and I'm not sure, can you see well enough to overtake like that without sticking the whole car out in the road? I'd love to hear from anyone who's got one of those. So this is my little sort of thing of cars of interest, and of course I think for most people who like the Exo thing, is probably the first car. I mean, it's the first one I saw that was an Exo. So at first glimpse, I'm quite sure most of you are thinking, Exo cars, aerodynamics of brick, no way on earth are you going to get that to go 200 miles an hour. And you're almost certainly right. I think it would have to have some kind of bodywork on more than a normal Exo to be able to do that. but I'm guessing I don't know a lot about these things. So I think it's best if I say what I'm already decided on the car and what things I'm not decided on, and I'd really like you lot, the internet, to offer me some advice and help. So as I've just said, it's going to be some form of Exo. The chassis will be obviously full independent suspension. I want to have it with inboard shocks, so it'll be probably push rod. I want to get it as low as possible. That includes me. Now with the Exo Booster, I've got quite a good guide there because it is a level where it just sometimes scrapes on some traffic calming. So basically the base of that, it gives me a really good minimum. It must be safe-ish. I want to have a decent roll bar in it. But when I've been looking for information about how you can go 200 miles an hour, obviously you need a lot of power and you need fairly good aerodynamics. So as I said, I think there'll have to be some kind of modification to an Exo, some sort of body added to it or something, I don't know, for the 200 mile an hour bit, for the aerodynamic bit. The question I've got at the moment, which would be really helpful if the hive mind of YouTube could help me out in, is what engine to use. Now, I found quite a useful website that said if you've got this much drag, you need this much power. Well, it's quite clear I'm going to need 500 or 600 horsepower, which is a fair bit. So what engine do I go for? Now, obviously, the Exo Booster, you could say, why don't I just modify the Exo Booster? That engine's been built by a mate of mine who's a drag racer. It's more or less the same spec as his drag race engine, and his drag race engine is 850 horsepower. Yeah, that's a heck of a lot. But I don't really want to modify that car, you know, to that degree. It's a fantastic car, and it's really good. But obviously, modifying that doesn't fit the build from scratch thing either. So the Exo Booster is going up for sale because I need the money to fund this project. If you are interested in buying the Exo Booster, let me know. I plan to put it up for sale September, October to give me time to sort of tidy up some bits and bobs on it, like the gold bit on the bonnet's got awfully stone chipped and things like that, to get all that sorted out. When all the bits and bobs are sorted, I'm going to be putting it up for sale for around 20k. If you're interested in it now, or kind of as it sits, I'm open to offers. So, you know, if you're interested in it, give me a shout. We might be able to strike up a deal. Anyway, engine. Right next to my desk where I'm working, I have this model I made several years ago. So, you know, like I said, on my list there is DFV. I would love this thing to have a V8. It's going to have to be mid-engine. I've had a little look at V8s. You can seem to be able to get a V8 at a reasonable cost, but the problem is it seems to be the transaxle to be able to get the V8 down. Is there any around that can take that sort of power? If you know of anything, let me know. At the moment I've failed. The only things I can find are things like the Ultima uses, which is a Porsche transaxle, and it's way out of my budget. That's the other thing I haven't mentioned yet. I want to set a really tight budget on this. It's probably going to be, I'd love to set it at 5k, but I think that's unrealistic. The other thing, again, this is, I just want feedback at this point. What do you think it's possible to do it? I mean, I'm thinking 10k may be a possibility. Let me know. Anyway, but I think a V8 and a transaxle are probably out of budget. Also, I'm not too sure on the position. If you get a Q reg, but with a V8 in there, whether the tax ends up being a fortune each year. I don't want to be spending 500 or 600 quid on road tax on a car that only does a few thousand a year. So other engines, obviously Hayabusa engine. It's a great engine and it's been brilliant in the Exo Booster, but I think I'm going to go car engine this time. Look at the car engines, few people use the Duratec engines. I don't know a lot about those. Are they that tunable, or do they cost a fortune to tune? It's really what I'm thinking of. I need to have an engine that gives me reasonable reliability, can produce 500 or 600 horsepower for the least number of pounds. Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm yeah, probably asking for the impossible. So yeah, so there's a Duratec engine. I've been reading up a fair bit about the Honda K engines, the 20 and 24 that they have in the you know, the Type R. Well, they seem to have in nearly every Honda, but the Type R one seems to be favourite. At the moment, that engine's looking pretty favourable, because everything I read about it basically says you leave the engine completely standard, don't even open it up, don't even put, you know, new rods in, nothing. You slap a turbo on the side, you can run it up to, like, I've just read this morning, 30 odd psi of boost on a completely standard engine, and you get about 500-600 horsepower. So that looks a fairly strong contender at the moment. Because they're quite popular, there's this whole K-swap thing, you know, where even like some of the early Lotus Elises, they drop them in there, and MR2s. They seem to be sticking these Ks. I even see Minis with them in. So they are, for a base engine, are not cheap, but it might be the cheapest way to go. There's also that V5, isn't there, that I think it's a Volvo V5 engine. Again, don't know much about that one. If you do, let me know. I don't know, it was a VW one, because there's an engine in the TT as well, isn't there, that puts good power. I assume that might have a transaxle with it. It's a rear engine anyway. Any front wheel drive engine basically is a transaxle, isn't it? Yeah, so there's that engine, yeah, the VW engine. I think they used it in the Golf as well, in that R32 Golf. Again, you know, trolling the internet, and it's very difficult to know, isn't it, with the internet, what's right and what's wrong. So there's those engines. I've just recently been watching a series of videos about a guy who's kind of built a car to be not a replica, but based on a Lotus 49. He bought himself a really cheap Porsche Boxster and used the flat 6 out of that. Look, again, that sounds like a lovely thing to do. I'm not pro Porsche or anything, but you know, flat 6 better than 4-cylinder. Got to be in it, more cylinders, got to be better. But for the size of the engine, and considering it's got a Porsche badge on it, they don't seem to be that much power. They seem to be about 300 horsepower. And I don't know what the tuning potential of that one's like, and cost if you do tune it. You know, I suspect that anything with a Porsche badge on is going to cost a fortune. But that's about where I am with this project at the moment. Like I said, it's really early days. I would really like to be starting to cut bits of metal and things and start building a chassis in the autumn. So, any feedback, any help you can give me, the better. Rather not have feedback just telling me I'm a complete idiot and I'm wasting my money and whatever. Just buy a kit car, because there's no fun in that, is there? So, can you help me? Yes, you can. If you know about any of these engines or any other engine, so basically the question is what is the cheapest with reasonable reliability engine that can make 500 or 600 horsepower? That is the fundamental question at the moment. Once I've decided that, I can start kind of designing things a bit more, because I know what lump's going to have to fit in the back of this thing. The other things you can do, if you don't know that, don't worry. The other things you can do to help is, if I can start making a couple of quid out of this eBay, out of this YouTube thing, that would really help as well. Because I'm going to need the money for this, aren't I, really? So yeah, so like and share, please, like and share. I need 1,000 subscribers on this channel before YouTube start giving me a few peanuts, a few pennies from the money they're making out of me making these videos at the moment. At the moment, I get nothing until I get that 1,000 subscribers. So if you could like and share this channel, subscribe to this channel, that would be really, really useful. And finally, I'm a bit crap with words and stuff like that. What do I call it? It needs a name. The project needs a name. I really like the name Aspo that they call that one, but obviously someone's already come up with that one. Yeah, I mean, I called when I was building the Exo booster, when I was sort of just posting to friends on Facebook, I tagged that as Project SFC for Stupidly Fast Car. So I don't know, should this be SFC2? P200, Project 200 maybe? But yeah, I'm not too great with these things. I've always liked 3-letter and acronym. So when I was designing a lap timer data logger for karts, I called it a KCT, which kind of stood for Kart Crazy Timer. But I kind of like these 3-letter and acronym things. So if you've got any ideas along that, please post them. I'll be posting this all over Facebook groups for help, but it's really useful if you comment on this video on YouTube rather than on Facebook, because then everything keeps all in one place rather than across lots of Facebook forums. And it helps with the algorithm to get me up, get me more likes and more people seeing. The more people see, the more likes, the more I might actually make a few pence out of this I can then put straight back into this project. Anyway, so that was a waffly, rambly waffle along, because as you can probably tell at the moment, I have this idea in my mind. It's still quite woolly, quite fluffy around the edges, but I want to do this. It's been in my mind for long enough. The ADHD thing, sometimes you kind of flick around between stuff. It's a very odd thing. ADHD and autism is an odd thing. Autism generally means you get stuck in a groove sometimes. ADHD means you flick around between ideas and jump into things, without really thinking them through. Both are great in many ways. This idea has been in my head for at least 6 months, which to me is long enough for me to be fairly confident it's going to stay in my head until I get it done. So it would be brilliant if you liked and shared this video, do all those things, and come along with me on this journey and see what happens. Hi, thanks for getting to the end of the video. If you're not already subscribed, please do so now. Just hit the subscribe button and then hit the bell button, and that way YouTube will tell you when there's any new videos. We've got some big plans ahead for the channel, including possibly a car build from scratch. So if you want to get involved with that, now's the time to subscribe. Cheers then, bye.